Marfoogle TV going live in 3.
The flag above you, is it the same one you think you wonder?
All right, what is going on, guys? Let's get right into it. Putin reminds West. Oh, my goodness. All right, what is going on, guys? Let's get right into it. Putin reminds the West that Russia has the most advanced nuclear weapons. Russian President Vladimir Putin, during Wednesday meeting of government ministers and military leaders, took the opportunity to remind all other nations, especially the West, that Russia possesses the world's most advanced nuclear weapons. He introduced the public statements that special attention must be paid to continued development of the country's nuclear triad, in reference to the combination of land-based delivery methods, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and strategic bombers, which a third of them we just took out, or I guess Ukraine did, right? It says, quote, now the share of the state-of-the-art weapon systems and equipment in our strategic nuclear forces comes to 95%. He added that Russia is making good progress on the nuclear readiness. He said that it is the highest level among all of the world's nuclear powers. Essentially talking about his 6 super crazy and some experimental weapons, including the Poseidon. The Poseidon is, of course, a nuclear weapon that would go off underwater and send a 1,500-foot wave towards our coastlines. Now, whether people believe these are fully realized or even real, again, this is what he is spouting. We have a lot of talk about nuclear this and nuclear that, and of course, we've talked about this over the last couple months, what insurance companies are doing. Insurance companies are literally there to try to tell the future. They don't want to put out money, and they really try to predict things so they don't have to. They are predicting and trying to change the way that they even work around planes. They're trying to make it so that not all planes land across the planet when the first tactical nuke or nuke is being used. So there's a lot of signs that that people are actually preparing for some sort of single nuke to go off, and that's exactly what the president of Russia has been talking about. We're going to talk about this and much, much more on today's episode. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I said I wonder, the flag above you, is it the same one you think you wonder? I said I wonder, is someone taking over?
All right, and there's another one more part to this. Again, it says currently full nuclear triad capabilities are possessed only by 3 countries in the world: USA, China, and Russia. American military leaders have tended to acknowledge the diversity and advancement of Russia's nuclear delivery systems. One of the latest new systems, the Sarmat ICBM, is boasted by Kremlin sources being able to travel 11,000 miles with a payload of about 10 tons. A month ago, Putin made an unprecedented allegation. He asserted that Ukraine's Western supporters in NATO were essentially trying to bait Moscow into deploying nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Putin emphasized Russia exercised restraint in this matter. Another quote here: the entire NATO pack will break their teeth on our nuclear shield. That was the deputy scientific director speaking with Putin at a public event. Now, that statement about how he's saying that essentially that they were trying to bait him in, I know many in our community that actually agree with that. And what's really sad, especially in the time period of last year, you had Tucker Carlson going over there and saying, our gov is lying to us, and look at this, and I'm here. I thought it was I like Tucker, but for him to go and spend a week there and to shop there and go, look what I get for $100. Well, that doesn't tell you the full story if you go to move to Russia. That was the same time that Russia was saying, come on over. If you hate the United States, come on over and live here. Like, I thought that was, out of all the things he's done, I didn't think that was the most transparent, right? As far as with whatever is going on here, it's like, this is something where a lot of people have now gone towards believing what Putin is saying over our own country just because our own country has been lying to us so blatantly. Now we have a new president. You would think that a lot of that would change, but now people are just in this spot where they just don't trust anybody anymore. So with this, it's something where I do think we will see a tactical nuke or a regular nuke. I think what the insurance companies and what these corporations, which corporations equals, countries at this point, what they are doing is really kind of setting up for exactly what they believe is going to happen. And I think that it happens because of them, right? Especially all of the gold. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but gold has it's skyrocketing. They say it's going to hit 4,000. We're talking about absolutely no faith in the dollar right now. Even our own, even Elon is saying, yeah, at some point it's just going to collapse. I mean, these are scary things to talk about. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugel fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's talk about the major Iranian missile impacts on Israel. So they did do a response.
They did, and they're calling it the first of it. So look, the air defenses are now active. They've been active on both sides, in Tehran and in Israel now. Israel says it has completely destroyed the Tabriz military base in Iran. They said their next potential targets outside of the nuclear capabilities is going to be their economics, so their oil and gas infrastructure. And then they did admit today that the U.S. Army is helping defend, not do any of the offensive, but doing the defending of taking down the missiles that are coming in, obviously with Patriot systems and THAAD systems. So the U.S. to that extent is involved now. They did completely evacuate the international airport there, the Ben Gurion airport. They've got, including all civilian aircrafts, everything's out. The American equipment and assets that are used in defending Israel against the strikes, we again have confirmed that they're using our assets for it now. There have been numerous strikes that have made it past the dome. So the dome has been holding up for the most part, but there's been quite a few that have made it through, which would be expected when there's that many sent. I think they sent over 100 missiles at one time. And Iran is saying it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of their, quote, crushing response, that this is not the full deal from Iran. And of course, obviously, Israel's saying it's not over for them either. They're going to continue to push forward. And then, of course, you got Trump begging Iran to strike a deal, basically saying, quote, before there's nothing left. So there's also radiological and chemical contamination at the Natanz nuclear site, which is one of the above ground facilities. The underground facilities weren't necessarily hit, but the above ground facilities were. And so now they're suggesting there's radioactive and chemical contamination in that area.
And as far as, what this looks like is an all-out war. If you are seeing some of the videos that are being published, there's thousands of them at this point. You are seeing that not only they had, from Israel to Iran, they had 8 waves of strikes. Iran is now shooting back. You have full-on back and forth everywhere. It is really insane. In fact, you'll have to go over to our website and go click through and then go through some of the tweets and some of the things that are attached. It's not even suitable for a show, and at least not one that the platform's like. I'm telling you, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. I thought that North Korea and South Korea would have been the first trigger, but I think that they're going to be second. This is the Middle East popping off, and I told you this when I talked to that submarine operator that was on break, and essentially I said, hey, what do you think about going to war with China? And what do you think about, North Korea, South Korea? He goes, no, they're telling us that we're going to go to war with the Middle East first. I told you guys this months before a lot of this started happening. And I was thinking, well, that, kind of makes more sense for it to be the Asian countries first. And that was before a ton of the escalations happened. That was before anybody was talking about, this happening as a guaranteed. Like, this was something that was way far off. It was before True Promise 1. So it was before the first massive strike by Iran. This is something where now they have tied treaties. Iran has tied treaties with Russia, with all of these other countries. And now you have an all-out war. I mean, like, this is back and forth. Like they said, hopefully they get to some sort of agreement before there's nothing left. I always get messages when we talk about the Iron Dome that the Iron Dome doesn't stop stuff. Just so you guys know, the Iron Dome, of course, is not a physical dome. I know that most of you already know that, but it is a system with radars, and it's very similar to our systems and our Patriot missiles and things like that, where essentially when it comes in, it sends out a interceptor and it hits it. They have 3 systems. They have the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and of course they have the Arrow system. So they have 3 systems working 24/7.
And they have the Iron Beam now, which
yes,
they launched
that's right.
recently. So that's the new laser defense system, which came out this year.
And it's already operational, and they say
Yes.
it's been taking out a lot of stuff. So for them to get past, that means think about what that means, Dex. If they've been getting past several times, they're sending a lot. They're sending more than they did in True Promise 2. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're only saying, according to the estimates, they're only saying it's been 100 so far. But it may be, and it may be the way in which they're doing it, bundling them together, close together, in succession. Maybe there's ways that they can try to, make it more challenging for those defense systems to strike them. And maybe that's part of what they're doing is testing. They've got,
it also could be Yemen.
20,000 of these.
It could be launches from so many other different places too. Like the
Right.
response from the first strike, from taking out the nuclear triad, the IRGC leader, the army leader, taking out the scientists. Like, the response from Yemen was also too that they're going all in. So I mean, they could have missiles and drones coming from absolutely everywhere. How long can that Golden Dome hold out? Can it hold out forever? Are they just going to start mass producing these things and these interceptors and just go full out? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, go watch some of the videos. It's nuts. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about the Chinese fighter jet and near miss with Japan?
Yeah, so with the aircraft carriers that are in the Pacific now, moving further away from being just in the China Sea area, they're getting more engagement and they're flying more time off of them. And one of these recent times, their J-15 jet took off from a Chinese aircraft carrier and reportedly came within 45 meters of a Japanese patrol plane. So they're calling it a close encounter. Japan has voiced serious concerns over the near miss involving one of its military planes as a Chinese fighter jet in the Pacific, where the recent maneuvers from the aircraft carrier groups have raised tension across the region. Beijing later rejected the criticism, accusing Japan of the dangerous behavior. The Chinese aircraft took off from the moving aircraft carrier Shandong and reportedly flew within 45 meters of the SDF forces from Japan's patrol plane. Shortly afterwards, the Japan Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimiya urged Beijing to prevent a repeat of the incident, which took place over the weekend, and said that the near miss, which occurred in international waters, could have caused an accidental collision. So I guess they were getting rather close to one another.
Now, this is something. When have we seen this? We've never seen this. This is, first of all, China's aircraft carriers are out past the island line. They're in the Pacific. They are now releasing their jets, having them do sorties. I mean, they are doing these dual aircraft carrier drills. This is a massive deal. And I always hear people say, well, we have 11 carriers. They only have 2. You just heard Pete Hegseth say about 2 months ago that they have the ability to take out all 11 of our aircraft carriers in about 20 minutes. They have our Pentagon admitting that China has, the way that they've looked at this is China has been looking at every one of our strengths and has been trying to come up with some sort of way to take them out, to undo those strengths. And not to mention, now that our entire infrastructure is connected with the internet, connected with computers, now they're putting AI in everything. You're talking about a serious vulnerability that people go, oh, no, they're not vulnerable. They have firewalls. Oh, really? Well, they'll just put in a physical cellular radio beyond that firewall. You talk about, oh, well, they can't access that. Oh, wait, they did. Solar winds and all of these things that have been happening for years, you could tell that this was all the setup. This is a setup for a massive world war. And people are they're going to be slapped in the face with this really hard. I mean, this is bad. There are so many people that are unprepared right now. It is unbelievable. Wolfman, nice to see you. James McGowan, we have Danielle Woodward, Michigan Lifestyle. Let's see here. Poppy Bjorn, Devin Backus, nice to see you. Stephanie Minos, Some Bad Lieutenant, One Happy Granny, and Kathy Paina, mahalo. Rip Curl, thank you for modding. Says hello, Bobby Sood, WizGen, Devin Backus. Thank you, Randy Man, Truth Iris. Thank you so much, LAPD SWAT, Salute, MJ, Arthur, Shao, and of course Priscilla F. Hey, Judy, love to you as well. All right. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Again, this is a device that can protect you not only against EMP strikes from any of our adversaries, but it can also protect you against a Carrington-level event from the sun. Again, this device can easily be put into your vehicles, your generators, pretty much anything that runs, cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, homes, ham radios, and it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. Well, how do they know? Well, it's Keystone military tested. This is used by agencies like DHS, DOD. The same company and same technology is most likely going up near you. They're even on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. So if you're in the United States, you most likely will at some point see this technology going up around you, only it's going to be able to protect, the Air Force bases and the infrastructure and the government. As far as us, I mean, you can probably expect if a massive event goes down, a grid down event, it's going to be like Hurricane Katrina times 4 million, right? Or North Carolina, or Hawaii, or California. Any of these big events, what has our response been? It's been pretty horrid. So again, if you believe that they are going to protect you, that is a very, very optimistic ploy. But many of us are seeing that if the government is preparing for this, then so should we. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and you will get $50 off per device, and they still have the Liberty sale. So that means you will get a stacked sale on top of that. The best and longest running sale we've ever seen. So again, go for it and check it out. All right, and then gold to hit $4,000. If there's many of you that know exactly what this means, this is a massive deal. We watched as, I think it was May 20th, or maybe it was March.
It was the beginning of April. It was the end of Q1, which was March 31st.
Yeah, so, well, on the one of them, it was definitely on the 28th. Was it April 28th then? Was it the...
No, it was March 28th going into the beginning of April.
Oh, okay. So, March 28th, we saw an absolutely unbelievable, unprecedented purchase, 45,000 gold futures contracts in just like 3 hours. It was unbelievable to the point where all the metal people were like, what the hell? This can't be right. This has got to be a glitch. 580 tons of gold was purchased in a 4-hour period, right? And it shot gold way up, right? And that wasn't even the single day. It didn't just go, it barely moved, right? The big move has been happening over the last year. If you actually look at where it's gone, it is just absurd. If you do have gold and you bought it, a few years ago when we even had a gold affiliate for like 2 months, maybe, we suggested it. People were like, no, don't do it. So we didn't. But I'm telling you, the people that did are probably thanking themselves. A gold to now hit $4,000 as China continues to secretly buy much more than it reports. On the heels of a major escalation in tensions in the Mideast overnight, gold prices, along with oil, have surged higher, breaking back above 3,400, likely to end with a record-closing high on the day. Again, the April reading of our GS Now forecast of the central bank and other institutional gold demand on the London OTC market came in at 68 tons. Again, year to date, our central bank demand nowcast has averaged 88 tons, modestly exceeding our monthly average forecast of 80 tons through mid-2026. So there's so much more moving than we thought was going to happen. China was again the largest identifiable buyer in April at 27 tons, 9 times the official numbers, as the secret gold buyer continues to load the boat. Again, there is a secret gold buyer. That should tell you something. Dex, this is very, very creepy when you start seeing everybody. It's like they got a memo. It's like they got a heads up. And we've told people this for months, but people aren't going to believe us until the lights turn off.
Well, it's the one thing that they need, and countries need to have any form of stability if they think there's going to be some sort of economic instability, whether it be from war, changing of monetary systems, all sorts of ideas that are that can actually have huge ramifications around economies. And so the more they can stockpile the gold, the better off they are for having stability. Even though currency isn't currently backed by it, it still has its place.
Now, Kathy Payana says, don't wear certain MAGA colors tomorrow and stay home, was advice from somebody. You know, tomorrow is obviously planned on being a big day. We don't know exactly how it's going to end up exactly. What is really crazy, though, is the amount of planning that went in. I'm going to show you something here in a minute that will absolutely, I bet most of you will not have your mind blown, because you'll go, oh, yeah, that totally makes sense. About those planned events, who is planning them, and so on. So, yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second. And then Germany plans rapid bunker expansion amid fears of Russian attack. Just to go back real quick, though, I cannot reiterate this enough. When you see gold like this, okay, realize what is happening. They are getting a heads up. You don't have to believe me. Go do your own looking. Go look at what is happening right now. Hopefully there's not too many that are just completely unprepared and have 3 days of food in their fridge. And then Germany plans rapid bunker expansion amid fears of Russian attack. Now, most look at this as Ganda, right? Well, Germany is actually, they've been kind of on the edge of a lot of these movements, right? And then Germany is drawing up plans rapidly expand its network of bomb-proof bunkers and shelters. Its government most civilian protection official has said, warning that the state needs to be prepared for an attack from Russia within the next 4 years. Ralph Teisler, the head of the Federal Office of Civil Protection and Disaster Assistant, said that Europe's largest economy needed to wake up the reality of conflict, and that its current state, Germany, was inadequately prepared. It says, quote, for a long time, there was widespread belief in Germany that the war was not a scenario which we needed to prepare. That has changed. We are concerned about the risk of a major war of aggression in Europe, he told the Süddeutsche Zeitung news outlet. Teisler called for national effort to pinpoint and turn tunnels, metro stations, underground garages, car parks, and cellars of public buildings into protective shelters to quickly create space for 1 million people. He said his agency will present a comprehensive plan later this summer. He added that the country was in a race against time. To rely on the construction of new bunker facilities was insufficient, that such shelters would take a long time to plan and construct, be very costly. Dex, he's essentially, he's telling people that there's a race against time, that they think it's going to happen sooner than later. Propaganda or not, that's the message.
They don't have time to build shelters. They have to find what they've got and make use of it. Yeah, it's a big deal, and it's certainly one in which, you know, you have to understand that what they're saying and what they want are kind of the same thing. Like they want this war. They'll say they don't want the war, but they keep pushing for it. They keep pushing Putin, and pointing the finger at him and doing anything they can to draw him in. They really want it because they want to actually take Russia out, I think, is the ultimate goal. And it's just my speculation. I don't understand why Europe would want to have a war with Russia, but I think that the warmongers there definitely do. And when you see this type of information being pushed out to the public, it just reinforces the fact that the war that they want is going to happen sooner rather than later.
Okay, so we all know this. Europe doesn't want a war with Russia. USA doesn't want a war with this. It is the people that are at the very top that have money invested in the military-industrial complex. We're talking about so much money. A bolt for one of these containerized things. It could be like an 8-inch bolt that normally is 45 cents. But if it's for a containerized, weapon system, I'm sure it's going to be $850 for the same bolt. Think about the markup that they have when they do government contracts. I mean, when you look at $20,000, jet toilet seats and stuff like that. That's why you look at all of these people that are the politicians that are pushing war, or that you suspect are pushing war, or that are always talking about propaganda about this happening and them attacking and this and that. They all have some sort of connection to these companies. Corporations are literally ruling the planet right now. And it is a very, very small handful of people that are invested in all of this. They are going to be completely safe through this next war. No matter if they're from Germany or from the US or from Canada, it doesn't matter. They've got some sort of bunker plan for themselves. And when the dust settles, they will be far richer and far more powerful. They don't care about money at this point. Some of these people care about the power that comes with it. That's my thought anyways. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, go ahead.
Great comment from Ralph Friedenswuter. Sorry, I'm butchering your name there. He was talking about the population of Germany. I just looked it up. The population of Germany is like 83.28 million based on 2023 information that comes up on the search. Well, this is only for 1 million people. So that was his point. Like, what, 1 million is laughable. So who are the million, and who gets in, and what happens to the other 82 million that don't get in?
Yeah, that's a creepy thought. Out of 83 million, 82 million will be locked out. Gosh, if that was 100 million, that would be 1%. That's pretty close to 1%, right? Dex, it's the 1%ers.
Yeah. It's getting close, yeah.
I guess they'll call it like the 2.6%ers. They'll all high five and be like, oh, okay, but do we have a cricket match down here? What is that, wall ball? Is that wall ball? What do the rich people play in the gyms where they smack the ball against the wall and scream a lot? Do you know what I'm talking about? They always show like the Wall Street guys going to the gym. Oh, the Friends and Neighbors, that show.
Racquetball?
Racquetball, yeah. They have to have a racquetball course or a court. And then Hegseth says the Pentagon has contingency plans to invade Greenland if necessary. I told you guys this. I said they're going to absolutely do this because they have to have they cannot have Denmark controlling this. They need to put interceptors there. They have some absolute reason. I believe it's interceptors and being able to put, actual, Golden Dome parts or something in Greenland. Either that or they're all going to, bug out there, but I highly doubt it. I think that this is because right now, under the current rules, they can only put monitor and detection capabilities in Greenland. They have to have control over it to be able to put interceptors between us and Russia and China. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth appeared to acknowledge that the Pentagon has developed plans to take over Greenland and Panama by force if necessary, but refused to answer repeated questions about the hotly combative congressional hearing Thursday about the use of signal chats to discuss military operations. Wow, I can't believe that they're still on the signal stuff. And then Democratic members of the House Armed Services Committee repeatedly got into heated exchange with Hegseth, with some of the toughest lines of questioning coming from military veterans as they demanded yes or no answers, and he tried to avoid direct responses about his actions as Pentagon chief. In one back and forth, Hegseth did provide an eyebrow-raising answer. Representative Adam Smith, which, remember this name, okay? Remember this name, Adam Smith. A Democrat out of Washington asked whether the Pentagon has developed plans to take Greenland or Panama by force if necessary. Says, quote, "Our job at the Defense Department is to have plans for any contingency." It says, "It is not your testimony today that there are plans for the Pentagon for taking by force or invading Greenland, correct?" And Hegseth started to repeat his answer. He says, I sure as hell hope that is not your testimony. So I want to point out, so with Hegseth and this guy, Adam Smith, that's questioning, this is very familiar to me. I'm going to show you something here. So we're going to go to X, right? So you guys know the things that are being planned tomorrow, right? Most of you probably already know. So I wanted to show you something. So first of all, you guys know that No Kings popped up kind of out of nowhere. No Kings is decentralized. It did not exist before like Thursday, and it's all of a sudden coming. Well, you look at the actual website, you agree under mobilize.us. Who started .us? Watch this. This is going to be trippy. Okay? So Mobilize, that originally founded as Mobilize America, was started by Alan Kramer and Alfred Johnson. Okay? Okay, and then we'll ask, what are their political affiliations? Check this out. And again, mobilize.us popped up in every state and had major sponsors. And if you look at the group and the sponsors, you're going to see Indivisible, you're going to see ACLU, you're going to see all these big sponsors. In one day, they just got this up, right? Alan Kramer and Alfred Johnson, the founders of Mobilize, originally Mobilize America, have backgrounds closely tied to the party campaigns. So Kramer worked as special projects consultant on Hillary's presidential campaign. Johnson served on Barack Obama's 2008 campaign and later as special assistant to White House Chief of Staff Bill Daley in the administration, and as deputy chief of staff under the JB administration, the last one. Their platform, Mobilize, was designed to support Democratic candidates and progressive organizations, partnering with groups like the Democratic Congressional Committee. Now, when you actually look, and this is the crazy part, because Seattle, where I live, is a huge hub for all of this. If you look at the local ones, Cal Anderson Park is pretty much like the headquarters. This is going to be like one of the main ones tomorrow. At noon tomorrow at Cal Anderson Park in my city is going to be one of the biggest and possibly will make nationwide news. I have a feeling. And I went down this whole trail of like figuring out, who runs the local stuff. It is called Indivisible. Now, Indivisible is running all of there's multiple branches all over Washington. What about who started Indivisible? This is absolutely crazy. Now, Indivisible works directly, and the direct Leah Greenberg and Ezra Levin, right? They have also worked with Tom Perillo, Adam Smith, and again, Adam Smith comes later into this. Indivisible was founded by Leah Greenberg and Ezra Levin. Both are former congressional staffers ties to the Democratic politics, right? They were all aides of this. Indivisible is actually, if you look at No Kings, is behind many of these. They have nationwide things, and their base is essentially right here. Would it be safe? .us and Indivisible. Yes, it's reasonable to say Seattle is a hub for Mobilized DS and Indivisible, given the significant activity and presence. All of these names, including Patty Murray and Adam Smith, these guys are the ones behind, again, what is happening tomorrow. There's a very big importance to all of this, because what is going on is this popped up out of nowhere. This was not regular people. This was not people down the street or on the bus. These are legit people in high up positions that created this within hours of the supposed events on Thursday and Friday. Whatever's going down tomorrow, it is big, and it was massive, and it was fast. So that tells me I don't think that it created out of nowhere, that there is some sort of bigger thing that they had this in the books. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, so technically what's going on, excuse me, is Mobilize is the technology platform that the entire No Kings thing is running on. No King's being distributed and trying not to have any sort of hierarchy to it, in reality, is really just mobilize. Because when you go to mobilize, you'll see all it does is talk about No Kings, and the entire platform's driven on it. So that's how you draw these dots, connect these dots that Adam is laying out here, from No Kings to mobilize to Indivisible, which is also managing a big chunk of it. It all comes right back down to these key players that he just talked about here that are running this, and they're running it and trying to make it look like they're not running it.
So for example, I can go. I'll zoom in here. Let me zoom in even further. Right, we'll go to. We'll zoom in even further. Okay, so the Seattle one, right? March will begin at Cal Anderson Park. You go to this. And again, the No Kings Seattle event is organized by Seattle Indivisible, West Seattle Indivisible, Defund Musk. Again, Troublemakers, the Troublemakers community. What a cool name. But again, Indivisible is everywhere, right? All over this down here. You'll notice that this is all over the place. But really, when you look at the people that started it, they're all here. And they all worked for under there. And then everything is connected. So when you look at the questioning and the same players that keep pushing up against this, it's all the same people. Right now, people are distracted by this, distracted by that. Meanwhile, something massive is going on right under our noses. And tomorrow, I hope, is not as big of an event as we think it is. I do believe that we very well could have, some craziness. I mean, think about this. It just got popped up on Thursday or Friday. So majority of people that are not following the news, and there's plenty of people in your friends and family that have no idea about this. And you think, well, it's all over social media. There's a ton of people that are not 24/7 on social media like we are. They don't know what's going to happen. When you do see these big, huge events out of nowhere, nobody really knows how they get organized or how it happens so fast. In fact, on the other side of the thing, if you try to go to that same place and organize a thing against that party, they're going to shut it down. It's just so crazy, because if one side does it, it's peaceful. If the other side does it, it's insurrection. So understand that, like, tomorrow, I'm not trying to pick a side here. I'm saying that there are some big people behind this. And this is all connected to, like, what we just read with Adam Smith pressing on Pete Hegseth. The same people, all the same people that are making headlines, these are all the same people that are also totally in tune and involved with all of the stuff that's going to happen tomorrow. So people really need to realize, like, there is a much bigger plan at play here. And it's all connected. It's global. And the people that are still doubting and detracting, I pray for them. And then North Korea appears to have added into its nuclear complex. Dex, let's go over that and what the hell's happening
they've constructed a new building within its main nuclear complex, according to satellite imagery. They're saying that they think it's an additional enrichment facility to ramp up the country's ability to produce nuclear weapons. So obviously they already produce nuclear weapons, but giving them the ability to produce some more and build a greater stockpile. So the new structure at Yongbyon is about 100 kilometers, 62 miles north of Pyongyang, resembles an enrichment facility at the Kangsong, another North Korean nuclear site near the capital. The satellite imagery analyzed by weapons experts claim it looks very similar to the layout of the other buildings. So all signs pointing that, Kim is going to be advancing the nuclear capability and ramping it up, probably with more missiles and more warheads that he can put on his shelf.
Now, I'm wondering, does it really have a blue roof? And does that, we just talked about this with their destroyer ship. Is that just another tarp, right? Or is there some reason why they do this as a defense, a defense against something, up above? It makes you wonder. Dex, are they just highlighting it blue, or is that really a blue roof?
Yeah, I don't know. I I really don't know, but we have seen these blues pop up more often than not, especially in North Korea and other places with new construction.
Or they're just believing the hype online, right? Maybe Kim Jong-un's like, oh, this TikToker says if you have blue roof, you don't get attacked by U.S. I don't know why he sounds like that, but you get the drift.
Hey, I got something for you in up next.
Okay, let me pop it up here.
Some are saying it's a misspeak, which I can explain, but the words that came out of his mouth got to make you wonder.
What the hell? Okay.
It's about 10 seconds in, but yeah, it's worth playing it out.
Okay. Here. What the heck?
Get to see all of the amazing things that the Army has done, whether it's helping with floods in North Carolina or wildfires in California, or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier.
Wait, what? Hold on.
We talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier, including actually going to war and fighting to defend the freedom. Astronaut yesterday who's on California, or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier, including actually going to war and fighting to defend the freedoms that are that make our nation so great. Or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what to say about that, man. That is, I mean, it does not seem like a misspeak.
California.
Well,
you know,
just to give you the devil's advocate argument, they say that there's because this is the Army, it's the Secretary of Army. They're talking about the Army birthday. Everybody's hyping up the Army, and there is a Army astronaut that's in the space station, and he could have been referring to that and misspoke of the moon. But at the same time, we all have our questions about like what else is the U.S. military doing in space that we don't know about. And could this really be not a mistake, but a slip?
Yeah, we spoke to a man who is on the moon, who is a soldier, an astronaut who is on the moon, who is a soldier. Whoa. Okay. Well, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you, Parker Craft. Thank you for being a member for 12 months. What happened to the whole Fort Knox audit? Yeah, I know. Well, also, again, it would be nice to know exactly where all of these carriers are and if there's any other Chinese ships. It's like they talk about something and then it just goes away. The Fort Knox audit, Dex, we haven't covered a single thing since the last time it kind of got brought up.
I saw some Congress people were trying to get something going to do that again in the last few days. Not that it was going to happen in the next few days. They were just trying to get a passage on it. I don't know if it got any traction or not, but there's still calls to do it apparently.
Huh. Well, as far as,
of course, the opposition to Trump uses it as an excuse to say that when they were talking about that, they were also talking about gold buys and making money selling gold. So, like, there's this whole negative spin to it now that they were making money off of it.
Well, we'll end up, yeah, and the gold's now, they're talking about it going to 4,000.
Right.
All right, and then before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. If you don't have antibiotics on hand, it is something that you don't really think about until you have an infection or you have something that you need them for. And usually you can just go to the hospital or you can go, to the pharmacy, or you can do a quick appointment and boom, you go to urgent care and you've got them. But we think that it is very, very smart to have just in case we do not have hospitals. If you, for some reason, don't have access, the roads are out, the grid is down. Any kind of cyber attack that could knock out pharmacies like it did last year. 30,000 pharmacies were knocked out for over a week. Make sure to go check out Jace. This is a really quick service. You can, again, talk to a board-certified doctor and get all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics sent right to your door. Again, not only will you get all of those antibiotics, there's also an add-on list where you can go, hey, doc, we have an asthmatic in the house. Can we also add albuterol? Make sure to go check on the full add-on list. It has stuff that, even some stuff that is harder to get, even if you have a prescription for it. So go over and check that out, marfooglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. All right, and then we have mysterious shipping container rocket launcher spotted at Trump's visit to Fort Bragg. Now, I don't think it's that mysterious. We of course have all of the systems. Every system that we've covered that Russia has, we have too. But I thought it was very interesting that they do a tour with Trump and show him this, and also show him the paratroopers. Right? They're showing these very specific kind of parts of it. Now, are they showing this rocket launcher, containerized military launcher, to say that we have these capabilities, or are they showing him, hey, this is what Ukraine used against Russia, but this is also what we think that China could use against us? I would love to be a fly on the metal wall there, because you don't know what the heck actually was said there. Shout out to the mods, Meepip007. Thank you so much. And then Milos Schaefer says, hey, Marfin fam, good to see you. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you, Milos. And thank you, Puppet07. All right, thank you. Dex, these shipping container weapons we've talked about for 10 years now, almost 10 years. And the scary part about it is they can be on the back of any truck, and they can be dropped almost anywhere. And they could either release a big drone, they could release 100 small drones, they could release a missile, they could release precision-guided ATACMS, HIMARS. I mean, pretty much anything can be put in this as part of a system.
Exactly. Well, and the fact that we've been talking about it for so long is the amount of time that they can be loitering in our country or in other countries. So we've got containers just sitting around, rotting in places, hanging out behind Walmarts for that matter. There's containers everywhere, and it's not uncommon to see them floating around. It's not uncommon to see a container yard full of old containers waiting to be used. So, and some of them being decommissioned because they're beyond life. And so to think that these could be anywhere at any time and nobody knows, and they could just be activated or deployed quickly if they needed them. And it's the ultimate disguise.
Yeah, most people don't even notice it. I've noticed them for the last 5 or 6 years, especially when we went through CV and all of that. And, we had several things like where Walmart had hundreds of these in certain parking lots, certain Walmarts that were connected right next to special operations like laser manufacturers and things. And you're seeing guys from these laser manufacturers going over to the Walmart side and going into their containers. That's kind of weird. And remember, Walmart has contracts, and during an emergency time would most likely team up with the United States military and government. But that's a side note. And you see these containers everywhere, and most people they don't even see them. It's kind of like they're invisible. They're camouflaged because people are so used to seeing them everywhere that they don't think about it. It's kind of like, it's kind of like the opposite. It's like, where's Waldo, right? Waldo looks at like 99% of the picture. These containers, nobody really notices, and most people don't even know about these containerized weapon systems. I keep going back to look at what China controls, because I really think China is the be-all kind of top dog of all of our adversaries. And look at how much they control as far as cargo ships and containers and ports and proprietary software that run those ports and cranes, and the trucking companies, the logistical companies that do. And the fact that they have been doing this multifaceted kind of hack event where they've not only gone into every part of our infrastructure, but they're also going into our states and into the HR departments, the same departments that make key cards to go into sensitive areas. The same place, they are getting a file on each and every one of us. They are accessing things like, who owns weapons and who doesn't. And they're creating a drone army, a military that it really is something that is second to none. And that's crazy because, honestly, you would think that the U.S. would be ahead, but the Pentagon has admitted that we are behind in autonomous AI and autonomous drones, which doesn't seem right. Maybe we're ahead in the Predator and this one and that one, but I don't. When they're talking about drone swarms and things like this, it's an area that the person who came out, the whistleblower that said that we were behind, it's an area where once you're ahead, it's almost impossible to catch up. So yeah, all things random. I sell soupy containers nationwide. I hope no one uses what I sell for that crap. So you actually sell those containers, huh? So I know the small ones are about 5,000. They can go up to what, 20,000, something like that. All things. Let me know how much does it cost for one of those? If I wanted my own, Club K launcher, like, maybe I've, just saying, it'd be cool, front yard, and then have 2 or 3 cars buried in the 4-foot grass. If you have a Club K container, you might just be a redneck. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, I think that everybody should be getting prepped right now. And this does not mean sell your house and dig a dump under your backyard. But if you have the ability and you have the time, might be that time. This is not to scare people. If you're at this point of the show, then you've stuck through the whole thing. I don't think that any of us needs to be scared. But I do think that we need to be prepared. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Much love, brother. Great job.
And you guys make sure to go over to the Friends website. Again, marfooglenews.com/friends. You have all of our awesome mods and a whole list of great creators like Jacob Israel and so many more. So make sure to go check them out. Again, you have, of course, Trinity, Ilea, Wages, RJL, Rip Curl was in here tonight. Thank you. Bobby Sue, thank you so much. All have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Says, I sell them in South Carolina for $2,600 cash on delivery. Wow. So are those 40-yarders? I wonder if I wonder if those are the biggest ones. That is, that's actually not a bad deal. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Neil Nelson, thank you for sending out 20 badges to the Foogle fam. I believe that actually just put you in top spot right last minute. So thank you so much, Neil Nelson. Thank you, All Things Random being number 2. And then thank you, number 3, Meepa007. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.
Is it the same one you think you want?